And one of the things that I learned from a lot of other successful people who have successful relationships is you have to continuously date your partner, right? And think about what you did in the beginning to earn your significant other's, love or their trust, and go back to what you were doing in the beginning, and that starts with dating them. So one of the things that me and Stephanie do on a consistent basis is we always make time for each other. Welcome to Street Leadership, where grit meets grace and ambition meets action. I'm your host, Ryan Goldman, diving deep into the stories that shape today's leaders. Get ready to be inspired, challenged, and transformed. Let's lead the way together. Welcome to the Street Leadership Podcast. Today, I want to talk about creating strategies for balancing family and work. In the first episode, I talked briefly about how the hardest person that we have to lead is ourselves. And that remains true, especially in our family and in our work. I think that all of us have a desire to pursue professional growth while maintaining some sort of family life balance. But how do we lead ourselves in our routines and our time management, and how do we create that structure, that balance within us? I talked about in the last episode losing my kids and kind of the struggles I went through with that, and all of that was a result of being focused on myself. I wasn't focused on creating any balance within my family. It was me as the number one priority, and that was it. And in order for us to be able to find that balance, right? Well, a lot of times people have this misconstrued idea of what balance is, right? And balance is not an equal measurement of time. Okay, there's no way that you're going to be able to spend the same amount of time at work that you're going to spend on your health, that you're going to spend on your finances, that you're going to spend in your relationships. That would actually create imbalance. What you have to be able to do is define what's truly important to you. What are the areas of your life that are worth committing a certain amount of time, whether it's daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly, and how do we move the needle in each of those areas on a consistent basis? I really like the example of the wheel of life. And if we were to think of each area of our life as a spoke on a wheel, maybe it's our relationships, our finances, our business, our health, our spirituality. How do we do something on a consistent basis to strengthen each of those areas to create a more well-rounded person? The quality of our life is based on the quality of our relationships. And the most important relationship that you have outside of the one with yourself is the one that you have with your significant other. The law of the inner circle states that the people closest to you will determine your level of success or your level of failure. And so you have to be able to nurture the relationship that's most important, which is the one with your significant other or your spouse. And so, what are you doing on a consistent basis to make sure you're watering that grass, you're nurturing that relationship to continue to grow that relationship to where you want it to be? And one of the things that I learned from a lot of other successful people who have successful relationships is you have to continuously date your partner, right? And think about what you did in the beginning to earn your significant other's, love or their trust, and go back to what you were doing in the beginning, and that starts with dating them. So one of the things that me and Stephanie do on a consistent basis is we always make time for each other. Okay, whether it's we're going out to dinner, whether we're going to a movie, whether we're going out to see a show on a weekly basis, there's something that we're doing every single week that's nurturing our relationship and adding value to each other, right? Because what happens is people get in this relationship that they've been in for a couple of years, and all of a sudden they start to become comfortable, and comfort kills, right? When you start to take the other person for granted and you stop doing the things that you did in the beginning and you start to kind of change, not necessarily for a positive, right? But just out of comfort, it starts to actually kill the relationship, and so you have to make sure that you're nurturing that relationship consistently. For me and Stephanie, we work together, okay, which creates a whole nother dynamic, right? Because we wake up together, we go to work together, we're raising kids together, we're eating dinner together, we're working out together, and we're going to sleep together, right? So we're together almost 24/7. And what happens with that is sometimes the boundaries start to disappear, right? Because we're together all the time. But what that does is, once again, it kind of creates that comfort if we're not careful and if we're not intentional with our time together. When we're at work, we're at work. When we're dating, we're dating. When we're raising kids, we're raising kids. When we're working out, we're working out, right? And we have to be able to find those boundaries. And for me personally, that was something that I really struggled with, especially in the beginning of our relationship. People would call me at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, and I made myself available. And what that did is it made Stephanie feel like other things were more important than her. And that wasn't the case, but I didn't realize that I didn't have the ability to shut it off. And I was always focused on, okay, what do I need to do to serve the business? And so over the last couple of years, I've had the ability to be able to learn from some of those, situations, and realize like that I have to be able to set a cutoff time to be able to focus on our relationship, even on a daily basis. So what we do is we generally put the kids to sleep around 7 o'clock. And, my goal is to be done with calls by 8 o'clock. And from 8 o'clock till we go to sleep, it's focused on our relationship. And so every day we're spending that quality time of just connecting, and one of the things I also learned from Tony Robbins' relationship events, from being a platinum partner, was I don't have to be the person that solves all of her problems. Right. And so men and women are totally different in the way that we communicate, in the way that especially the way that we handle or want to share problems. For men, we have this tendency that we want to destroy, annihilate, and get rid of problems. And for women, problems are a gift to be shared. So I've been able to learn the power in just listening and being present, and not having to be her hero to solve every situation in her life, but just being able to be there and share those moments with her, whether they're positive or negative. And that's done a lot to really be able to help our relationship. When it comes to our kids, I didn't have the greatest example of what parenting is supposed to be. And my parents had their own demons that they struggled with, as far as, substance abuse. And, my dad traveled a lot for work. And so that's something that I've kind of just had to figure out. And what I try to do is I try to just lead with my heart with my kids. And I think that most people take parenting for granted. And what I mean by that is, if you haven't been through a nasty divorce or a separation or orders of protection, or something that's prevented you from being able to have a relationship with your kids, and you haven't had to fight to become a part of their life. Most parents, I think, have this idea that, parenting is this right that's given when you bring a child into the world. And not for everybody, that's not the case, and there's that saying that, you don't realize what you have until it's gone. And especially true with parenting, and when I was going through the situation with my kids, I was fighting my ex. I was fighting the state. I was fighting her parents. I was fighting the first foster parents. And, it felt like I had all of these people that were fighting against me, trying to kind of prevent me from being a part of my kid's life. But while they were fighting me, I was focused on improving myself, and I think that that's what ended up being the difference maker, is all these people were really focused on kind of attacking or being defensive, and I was focused on how do I build myself up to become worthy of being in their lives, and I don't hold on to any animosity against any of them, because I believe that everybody was doing what they thought was right in that moment, and we all had different ideas of what that was. And like I said in the beginning, I wasn't worthy, of being in my kid's life. I did have a drug and alcohol addiction, and I wasn't being a good example, and I wasn't leading myself well for them. So I understood why a lot of people had a lot of hesitation towards me being there, but I was willing to do what it took to become a part of their lives. And in the when it started, when I was fighting for them, it went from 1 hour a week of supervised visits to ending up winning full custody, and so now I get to wake up with them every single day. I get to take them with me as I travel the world. We get to spend every single moment together, and it's an incredible transformation. And I hope that anybody who might be going through a similar situation, that it gives them some hope and belief that if you're willing to put in the work and build yourself, you can absolutely become worthy of the person that your kids get placed with, So keep fighting the good fight for anybody that's out there, and so now that I have the kids, my priority is like, how do I set great example for them, because I want them to be able to catch me in the acts of excellence, and I want them to look up to their dad and be inspired and be a role model for them to want to follow, right? And so once again, that starts with my example. They see me when they're first waking up in the morning. I'm usually coming back from the gym, right? So they see that their dad makes the gym and his health a priority. They always see me loving on their mom. I'm loving on Stephanie all the time, so they get to catch us kissing on each other and hugging each other and telling each other I love you. They get to see me building a business, and serving other people and having kind of a servant's heart and leading with my heart and treating people kindly. They get to come home and see me reading a book, doing something to add value to my life, making healthy choices, eating healthy meals. They get to see their dad being present with them, even if it's just to hang out with them while they're playing video games. Okay. All those things I didn't necessarily have a great example of growing up. My parents weren't going to the gym. Besides my mom did home workouts, when I was very young, but that didn't last forever. They fought a lot. I never really saw them, reading self-development or attending seminars. They definitely weren't healthy, and drinking a lot and smoking a lot and all those things, right? And so I gave up all those vices, right? I used to be a cigarette smoker. I don't smoke cigarettes anymore. All of those things to be an example to my kids, right? Because our kids aren't just going to listen to what we say, they're going to watch what we do, right? So I want them to be able to see me leading myself and setting that example for them, and I want to be able to show them what discipline and hard work can bring into their lives. One of the things I think is the biggest barrier, I mean, even our relationships and our kids, is the freaking cell phone, right? I mean, because the second that goes off, it's like a pattern interruption and it takes away our focus and we direct it towards whatever's going on our phone. So one of the things that's been helpful for me, especially with the kids, is like just trying to leave it in a different room when I go and spend time with them, and that way I don't have that distraction. And sometimes it's hard because, I am running a business. So there's definitely sacrifices that come on both ends, right? There's sacrifices in trying to build a business. There's sacrifices in trying to, parent and be a good example of that. There's been times where we had to bring our kids with us while we're going and opening up offices and have five of us in a hotel room while we're getting ready to launch and in the office building furniture with us, just because we got to figure it out, and so there's a dynamic that comes, when you're focused on building your dreams and still trying to parent. Sometimes you got to just pack them up and bring them with and show them what that looks like too. But one of the things that's really helped over the last couple of months is learning how to delegate some of the responsibilities, right? And so not one with work, right? Being able to delegate some of the work responsibilities to people to where we don't have to do everything ourselves. Like Stephanie has been amazing for me in that department because when she got started with me, I was doing everything. I mean, from putting out badges to training to hiring to working in the field to calling recruits. I mean, it all fell on me. And so she helped me to start delegating some of that stuff out. And then we hired some more people. We hired some VAs, so all of that stuff helped with delegating some of the work stuff. And then it became like, okay, how do we delegate some of the household chores, right? And so we ended up bringing in a full-time live-in nanny who came and stayed with us. And that was a huge blessing, right? Because now we no longer have to be worried about who's going to do the laundry or who's going to cook dinner that night or who's going to go grocery shopping, right? We have somebody who's able to take on a lot of those, time wasting activities to where we can focus on what's really important to us, which is connecting, and so being willing to invest into your family, right? Being able to invest in that person to where, whether it's, just somebody that comes and does the laundry, so you don't have to. I mean, I don't know how many hours people spend doing laundry or cleaning up every week. It's like, man, I would much rather go and do something fun with my family than be worried about, okay, I got to do the dishes and do the laundry and fold clothes, for the next 2.5 hours, right? I'd rather go bowling or go see a movie or do something, more exciting than that, And so part of that comes down to being able to buy back your time, right? And the more that you're able to buy back your time, you're able to spend the time on what's really, really important to you, So getting a nanny was huge for us. Even going to church. I never went to church growing up, so I didn't find a relationship with God until after I had gotten sober and I was at, one of my lowest points, but that was one of my goals this year was to start going to church. And Stephanie was supportive of that, and she had gone to church growing up, and so wanted the kids to be a part of that. And so we made that happen, so every Sunday we get to take the family to church. And even doing something like that, it helps us to grow closer together, even spiritually, to where we're able to talk about it on the way home. And, the kids are telling us about how Jesus loves them. And I mean, it's just a beautiful, beautiful experience of something that I never got to experience growing up, and on Sundays, we try to be intentional and find ways for us to do something together as a family, whether it is going to a movie or going out to eat or, going bowling and going to incredible pizza or Chuck E. Cheese or whatever it is something that allows us to connect as a family. And even right now, I'm actually recording this episode. I'm in the Philippines right now, so I'm around the world. And so over the last 2 years, and I think that we're making this a tradition at this point, is during winter break, and actually for a little bit longer than winter break. Last year we did 3 weeks. This year we're doing 4 weeks. We spent 4 weeks in the Philippines, and besides recording this podcast, there's been maybe 2 or 3 hours of work that's been done over the past 2 weeks. And so it gives us this time to reset as a family and really go deeper and connect. I'm teaching my kids how to play chess. We're swimming in the ocean. We're going on these boat tours and adventures, and we're eating new foods together. And we're connecting with Stephanie's family. And so we're prioritizing our time together because things do get chaotic, right? And it gets hard to balance some of those things when you're caught in building a business. And there's times where maybe you do have to work till 10 or 11 o'clock at night. Or there are days where, like, man, it requires an everyday focus. But once again, if we get back to this idea of balance, it's not an equal measurement of time. It's how do I prioritize the areas of my life that are important to me? Another example is just we really focused on creating magical moments this year. And so my mom was diagnosed with lung cancer in May. And so, it was stage 4 lung cancer. We knew that there probably wasn't going to be a whole lot of time that was left. And so we prioritized coming out and spending time with my mom in Michigan for the whole summer and a couple times after. And, we created all of these very beautiful, magical memories that we're all able to hold on to forever. And I was able to go and spend the last 2 weeks of my mom's life with her before she transitioned. And all of those things, that's what balance is, right? It's like the things that are truly, truly important to you, that you're making time to make those a priority. And so that would be my challenge to you guys, right? Is to identify what are those areas of your life that are important, whether it is your business, your finances, your relationships, your spirituality, your personal development. And what can you do on a daily basis? What can you do? Maybe it's on a weekly basis. What can you do on a monthly basis? or even a yearly basis to make sure that you're nurturing each of those areas of your life. And I could promise you if you make that a priority and you find ways to build that into your schedule, maybe it's going on dates once a week with your spouse, maybe it's doing something as a family once a week, maybe it's reviewing your budget, once a month, maybe it's going to the gym 4 or 5 times a week. Maybe it's reading or listening to an audiobook for 10 minutes a day. All of those things are going to start to compound and you're going to be able to see the difference that it makes in your life. So, I hope you guys got some value from this. This is just some strategies and some tools that I use to try and create that balance within my own life and with my loved ones and I hope that it gives you some ideas on some things that you can utilize too. All right, we'll see you on the next episode. Appreciate you tuning in.